Well, I'm glad I caught you in a good mood.
Welcome back, friends, to another video. This time Mick Dagger is created in your very eyes. The skill for today is Poison Dagger. So skill progression on Poison Dagger, mana cost increase, poison damage increase, and actually even by level 20 doesn't look great. The damage over X seconds gets longer and longer. I don't know why they added that in, but it does have an increased bonus attack rating, which is going to be pretty vital. There are synergies, however, so Poison Explosion, Poison Nova both add plus 20%, so we should get 400% from both of those by the end. And the last thing to note is Lower Resist. It's the only skill that can actually worsen a target's defense against poison, and actually as the skill goes up, all you get is slightly better duration and a slightly more resist all, so a few levels on that could be crucial. Everyone's favourite is Necromancer Bone Armour, 15 additional shield from physical damage as the skill goes up, so I think that's going to be pretty vital, seeing as we need to be in melee range for a lot of this. So straight away, Bloodmore, players 8. We're going to have to do the usual Necromancer running around, desperately trying to find a shrine. A lot of you have said, oh, just cheat for the first bit and just use some skill, but I just can't do it to myself. It doesn't feel right. So we've got a pretty good roll here with this map. There's 2 shrines there pretty close to one another, and another one a bit further down. So we're looking for this, the experience shrine, and we're looking for this, the attack shrine. We know from previous experience, fire shrines aren't particularly good. And actually, it's a shame in a way I'm doing this on Players 8, because I know it's going to be a challenge to try and get anyone killed with the fire shrine, other than maybe the odd fallen. I'm hoping down there, because the experience shrine is there, that we're going to get a better shrine, but I saw a lot of refilling shrines on this initial epic journey to try and get a bloody poison shrine. Experience shrine, and now we play a desperately dangerous game. And I have to switch there to throw because I don't want to accidentally bonk a girl in the face, because that can get you in a lot of trouble. And there you go. And actually, a level up. We need to be level 6, that's the problem. So we're going to be here for some time, shouting at these people to come a bit closer. So here I'm pulling another group, another fire shrine, this time no experience, so it's going to be pretty poor. Oof, and there we go. So another level up, probably better than I expected, but we are actually trapped in these girls, which isn't always a good thing. An exploding shrine this time, because this is what you want from your content, is to see the effects of various early level shrines against early level creatures, but I couldn't actually hit the shrine that time, so I had to TP out, probe MLG skills, and I'm back in again. And there we go, we've got an angle, I believe. And it's really very poor. It's probably the poorest one of all of them. You can see I'm continuing to kite the same pack. Why would that be? And I've had to speed this up. You can imagine how long this took. I must have taken at least 40 runs to try and get all of the shrines. A very long time, but we do finally have a poison shrine, glorious poison, and I am desperate to make this as good as possible. We've got maybe too many to the bottom right there, but I can only last so long with the potions I've got. But even on Players 8, we don't seem to take that much damage or get hit that frequently. And there you go, finally the big boy damage comes along, and we're not quite there yet. And I really wish we were, trust me. A gem shrine gets me an emerald. I actually found more gem shrines than poison shrines. But I feel like at this point I'm an expert on cold plane shrines, because I saw them all. A lot of stamina shrines. This exploding shrine again, I mean, in hindsight, just restart, it's not going to do anything. I've got about 20, 23, 22% to go, and it gives me maybe 15% of a level. I think I'm level 4. So experience shrine, that's normally a good sign. Unfortunately, the pack I've got, and again, you learn a lot about the packs of creatures. You want a lot of the ladies, really, not these red dudes. The Fallen just don't give nearly enough. And there we are, level 5. Actually, a plus 25 maximum stamina, which is perfect for my level. One of the things that was really frustrating about this is the vitality is so low of the Necromancer in the early part that I found myself just pained running around to those shrines. So you can see there found some decent daggers, I say decent daggers, some socketed, superior daggers, so we're putting some gems aside for future. Another shrine pops off, another gem. I'm a bit annoyed there because I had my emerald there and then, yeah, a ruby must have crept in. And the shrine knew which one I really wanted. So here finally we've got the flawless emerald from a gem shrine. And I literally can't say the word gem. So I understand why people complain about the audio on my videos. Experience shrine. When you're watching this back and you see an experience shrine, it's normally a good sign. And especially because I'm kiting. So I've got 3 of the gargantuans there, which are pretty decent experience. Although I'm concerned at players 8 and a poison shrine, it might not be good enough. Lots of fallen. Unfortunately, there were a lot of fallen around this area. But for the early part, that's really good. And we've got a poison shrine. And I can't remember the exact radius. Hugely effective. And it's really the 2 poison shrines that have done almost all of the damage to this point to get us to level 6. Say hi to Wareve. And finally, we've hit Poison Dagger, level 6. So, poison damage 7 to 15 to begin with. Mana costs 3. I don't have a huge amount of mana, and that is actually a bit of a concern for the Necromancer throughout this run. I've got a lot of other points to spend, and I can't put any more in Poison Dagger at this point. So we get some other classics. Amplified damage, again doubles physical damage taken for 8 seconds on this difficulty. Hotkey that, and then bone armor as well. Bone armor being physical damage reduction we spoke about earlier. Now every level within this is 15 extra damage, and the synergies there are still another 15 damage, so really just pumping the main skill as much as we can. Here we find ourselves up against a legend in Act 1. Arcane! And one of the things you can see already is the amount of damage I'm taking. These are not the hardest creatures, although I am playing on Players 8. It's generally worth playing on Players 8 difficulty, most of the early part of normal at least, because the experience is there and the difficulty doesn't ramp up, but with some super uniques, it can be quite dangerous. But when you're a professional like me, man, I've never died on normal, ever, and you will never see that happen. And that's not foreboding. And even I think just one hit on Maggot there did almost all of his health damage. So the damage is clearly very good. And it's very much assuming we can hit them, bonking everything once. And already 2 more levels into poison damage, and up to 40 to 58. Assuming things don't have very high resistances, which we know in normal they really don't. That's very significant damage. Unfortunately, of course, it's damage over time, and the more points I put in poison damage, the longer that damage over time is stretched. So great to see the damage scale up, but for some reason they don't just do it over 2 seconds, which they should do to make this skill viable for hell, as I've now found out. So whizzing through the underground passage. And we're here up against Soulburn. That's pretty cool. Pretty badass name. I'd follow him if I was blue. Love walking around with a torch in a tunnel with like-minded people. And a level up. No doubt at this point, I'm spamming Poison Dagger. Mainly because I'm worried about Andariel. And proof that you can gamble a belt, even though in previous videos I was unable to do so. Still not sure why that was the case, but maybe I wasn't high enough. And now we can see some of the limitations of the build, the durability. So we're going to have to play the age-old game of durability low, down it goes. Yeah, that's right. When I narrate these videos, I pretty much have to drink to get through it. So when you see this symbol, you know you've got to drink. So I'm going to be drinking now. And let's see how drunk I can get by the end of this. Poison Dagger once again, like, I love it. It's all about that damage. So allocating gems, at this point I've got a 2-socket helm, and you know I love Magic Find because my Magic Find is inherently, although it's wrong on the tooltips, you'll see on the character screen, it looks like it's the same Magic Find as everyone else who owns this game, but mine is actually minus 500. Into the dark wood. Not very dark, actually. A bit disappointing if you came forward for just the darkness. Showcasing some of the gameplay there necessary for this character. Just stabbing and running. You can kind of leave them alone. One of the big concerns is that you stab, run away, and then miss any loot they drop. So a lot of the time I'm having to like hang around just in case. Tree head here, probably one of the hardest dudes I've come up against so far. It's very much a hit and run tactic. With Poison Dagger, the level it's at, although the mana cost is getting higher and higher, which is restricted with the mana I've got, I am hitting these guys relatively frequently. And the damage I'm doing now is so significant that one hit, and with mana I've got probably 95% chance to hit, will kill almost anything. Drink up. So when mana's out, it does become quite difficult to survive. The hit points of the Necromancer are just atrocious, and every time you put points into Vitality, and I normally just OCD put 5 points in every time, you're only getting 2 health, 2 hit points per point. I buy the ring mail, which many have told me slows me down, but I love the way it looks. I love the way when you start getting the metal armor, your character starts looking a lot more badass. So I've got my head there, which is adding +1 to Bone Shield. So the goal would be on my offhand to have a very significant boost to Bone Shield. I'm guessing, because I plan all of these meticulously, that I should be able to aim for +3 on the shield and +3 on a wand, but I know with like +2 Necromancer skills, I could potentially get easily +5. I say easily. It's possible is what I'm saying. Put that glorious Gemerald straight in there. I actually forgot at this point to do the Den of Evil, so in we go. This is unfortunately quite pedestrian at this level. Probably close to level 10, although I do get a level up. There you go. Poison Dagger up to level 8, which is 100 damage at its max. So 80 to 100. Just saying hello to everyone in the club. Quick bonk on Corpse Fire. And what's interesting there is I did hit that guy on the left, and he survived. He just survived 80 to 100 poison damage, so if that's not an indication of what fun I'm going to have in Nightmare, and especially Hell, I don't know what is. And there's always one guy who likes to just pop in at the end, being like, "For you guys!" And yeah, you have to run back to the beginning just to get them. So survivability has become a marginal concern for me, even at this early stage. And again, another task I needed to get through was entering Tristan and releasing Grandad from his gibbet. A word not used these days as often as it should be. It's quite funny looking back at how methodical I have to go through just stabbing everyone once. Grandad there, locked up for his crimes.
Deckard Cain, if you value your life, leave here immediately.
And now one of the harder sets of heroes. Depending on your level, of course. I'm pretty well leveled at this point. But in Tristram, that set, ideally you probably want Goatmen, because they just give so much experience. I'm just so used to running Tristram from ladder games. And lastly, the sad demise of Griswold. I knew he was carrying some wealth. All that money for repairing weapons in the original. Thief.
This place.
So I do genuinely enjoy running the tower at the beginning. The runes are always really nice, and you can get some pretty decent ones for the level you're at. You can't necessarily use them all. Very pretty ghost there. I love the orange ghost. But it's also one of the easier places to navigate. Now I don't love memorising all of the maps like some people do, because I feel like it might take a lot of the charm out of the RNG. But with the tower I do quite like the fact that if you just go left, if your character goes left, you'll generally find the way through. So Countess Darkstalkers going down without too much effort. They can run out and gank you, and sometimes depending on where the Countess is, they can kind of hang back and be tethered to her. This instance they've kind of run to me because she's placed further to the side, to the left side there. So a busy VIP lounge, but nothing Poison Dagger can't rectify. Try getting a reservation at Dorsia now.
I am overburdened.
Towel, not bad as a start. I do need towels. I run this a few times of course, get towel, and an Eth. Really, I'm looking for Taloneth. And that gives me my stealth, which I love putting in the heaviest armour. And even taking out some of the heroes there. And the Smith, always worth trying yourself against the Smith. Not on hardcore, I wouldn't recommend that. It's not worth it for the reward. Because the guy hits hard, he's got quite a few hit points. It's good to see just how Poison Dagger is going to go against a boss type creature. And actually relatively decent poison resistance, I'm guessing, or he's just got very high health. But not the most intelligent. Like Butcher level intelligence here. I've got to say, I love what they did with the Butcher in Diablo 4. Don't know if you guys play that too, but I think that's so cool, this kind of creature that just turns up. And it's quite scary as a result of like the music change and stuff.
All this for a hammer?
And all that for just a hammer. Getting a bit of a selection of knives now, and finally, because we're level 15, we can use the Flawless Emerald. Quite a big damage up from the 20 poison damage to 60, so already doing up to 250 damage. And more with Poison Dagger, and we've even unlocked the synergy. Now, I go back and forth here between the two skills, because I'm surprised that it looks to me that the synergy will add more damage to a level of Poison Dagger. Of course I have to go back and just double check the math on that, but it is right. Now the one benefit Poison Dagger has is it has more attack rating. And because I can't necessarily pump all of the points I want to into dexterity, I want to kind of max that out for the bosses, because I want to be hitting every time and then running away. Now at this point I make the debatable change to pull the difficulty down. Maybe it's echoes of Flame Spike. Maybe it's more the fact that I'm actually a very decent level for this point, and do I need to go through and necessarily kill everything? No, probably better off just trying to get through this. And it wouldn't be going through the cathedral without paying homage, and by that I mean killing the head priest after drinking from the holy well, Bonash. I thought Bonash might... At least she can't talk after 2 drinks. I thought he might be poison immune, which was interesting to go up against already and see how I fare, because I should have enough physical damage at this point to take him out, but he isn't. He is just a poison dude. Poison thrower. Skip through the cats, because that's easy enough. And then we go through the rigorous process of taking out the shaman. So in this early area there are 4 shaman, and it's almost vital to take them out immediately, because otherwise, especially this one round the barrels, as a early gamer, that used to cause me a lot of trouble. And then unfortunately there's 2 shaman in here. This one you can take out without any issue, but the other one that's slightly to the north there, and you can see the pack of fallen with it, now aggroed, trying to pull them down as possible. To be honest, once the pack's aggroed, you know the shaman's active, and they've got a, maybe a 2 screen distance from being able to resurrect. So really, by this point, you take it everything you can other than the fallen, and then you run in, and you just gotta get the stab in. I'm doing a few stabs there just to make sure they definitely die. And then my mother-in-law turns up and says it's time to dance. Bit annoying when you get some ads, mainly because Poison Dagger is quite mana expensive at this point, so I don't really want to have to waste one hit on them. Andariel here, very easy, let's be honest. Especially with this tactic. And we even get a U1 for our trouble.
Back to the hell that
I'm always
spawned
annoyed.
you,
Sometimes the
Andariel.
magic find from Andariel is phenomenal. But like I say, I've got negative magic find for some reason. Nothing great there. Arctic Binding I always think has got phenomenally high cold resist. It could almost be viable for the first part of the game. But with so few slots, it's just not worth it. You need those extra slots from the belt. Straight to Elzix, as I love to do, and quickly try and get some magic find gloves and boots. At this point I just find the gloves, but that's okay at this point. Some magic find is better than no magic find. And then I actually decide to turn back and go into the sewers, because I can hear some murmurings, and I know that extra skill point will be useful. It's quite important to do it early because it is always going to be a bit of a slog to get through. And you can see here I get pretty close to the very first death. Again, the hit points I just don't really have. Good decent map there. Finally get to Radament. With 159 health, if you get cursed and hit by a few people at the same time with maybe not full health, it can be very quickly game over. Thankfully with a lot of the minions of Radament you can pull them out. So I like to pull as many of the boys and just get them out of resurrection range. This has given me flashbacks of having to do this, I think, on Hell, and yeah, less said the better. Now Radament is undead, which I don't think helps for poison, having a generic poison resistance. He's also an Unraveler type, which I also think have pretty decent poison resistance, so innate poison resistance. I'll probably be corrected in the comments, and I'll be honest, I can't be bothered to look it up now, but he looks like he should have pretty decent poison resistance. He does spit poison, after all. I get very, very low here, and I don't die, because I've never died on normal difficulty, and you will never find a corpse in any of my videos, and that's why I play softcore. Again, part of me is debating the idea of upping the overall damage, so I do decide to get that 1 point, because that's pure damage to the poison rather than the additional attack rating and mana cost. And I get some decent boots here as well, 19%. I think you can get up to 25% on both of these. So 25% on my gloves is very good, and 19 on boots is good enough. I'm not going to go back and forth. And then debating changing the old hat. You can begin to see how long that early shrine stuff took, because I've got so many chip gems. In the desert at last. I've got to say I love Act 2, and a lot of my friends really don't. They say it's their least favourite. To me, I love the aesthetic. I love the idea of like travelling through the desert and going to different places. I think it's got some of the best like independent environments, like the Maggot lair, which I know is frustrating, but it's super cool. And the Arcane Sanctuary I think is just awesome. But loads of cool like set pieces and levels, and it really fits with like the story really well. So I think it's so cool. Desert wings are always pretty cool to find, but they can actually do pretty decent damage, especially in a pack, because you can accidentally fly into, like here, exactly what I do here, fly into too many, and they're quite aggressive. But I know from this map layout that we found the next level down, so it's worth persevering through them rather than bravely retreating. And thanks to the person in, I think it was my Golem Run video, Golem Dad, who stated that it's not your attack rating, they do have an innate block to chance a lot of creatures. So those skeletons there, good example. 2 socket, and you might be saying, well, why benefit from the faster run walk of stealth in chainmail? Well, actually 73 defense does make a big difference on normal, and I love trolling the people who are like, why have you done that? But yeah, look, some of the stats there are phenomenal. Mainly the 25% faster on walk is really good. And I'm showing you here my favourite creature from Diablo 2. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it's like quite rare and niche, but the flying scimitar I think is so cool. Real like Clash of the Titans. Very easy just to run past, but I just think it's a cool concept. You can even turn them green with poison, and they often drop a scimitar. Man, it's just, to me, perfect. So through the cats, we know when we hit some cats, we are on level 3. Methodically stabbing my way through these. Mana, you can see, is an issue. It's fluctuating up and down. And maybe at this point I should have put more points into the synergies rather than Poison Dagger. When we get in, we've got to bash these hollow ones once. And thankfully, with the level we've got Poison Dagger out, we can hit them once and relax because they should go down. Although saying that one... Oh, he's a hero, okay, so... I'm there banking on 2 hits being enough, and it's not. And given the damage we're doing, it's a concern that even some basic heroes are able to tank that much poison damage.
I can't carry anymore.
Some great standoffs we had in areas I'm not used to having them, I'll be honest. That's why this game's still quite fun. So here we've got quite a narrow walkway, as we always do, between acts, but with the amount of enemies filtering through, and the fact that I can't just bullets through them, I'm having to kind of have this pitched Thermopylae type battle with some of these guys. The good news is even these death beetles can go down without too much fuss. Problem is every time you hit them, they release a lightning charge. So you get the one when they get hit, and then you get another when they die. So without decent lightning resist, a big enough pack can cause real drama. Far Oasis Waypoint, and you'll see some incredible skills here, as I've already opened a town portal by the Maggot lair, so we could just pop in. And we've got to hope for the best here. We want some good RNG. This area can be a real slog, but it's cool at the same time that it can be a slog. Sometimes it's very easy to like whip through areas and just try and get through as fast as possible, but you've got to enjoy the journey, man. And these flies, despite how odd it is that you can stab a group of flies and they all end up dying, are very, very easy to kill. Very different from the physical immunities I've had in the past. And here the danger, certainly on those cross sections, is you can aggro creatures from quite far away and get caught in between them. Another level up. At this point, putting in the synergy. I don't need to run out of mana any faster than I already am. And yeah, you'll see there I explored the entirety of level 1, only to find it was right next to me. Enjoy the journey. And look at this, a unique ring. And it's Nagel ring. Nagel ring with 25% magic find is pretty decent. And it has attack rating, plus 61 to attack rating. So really good. Could easily be like a man-ult heal or whatever it's called, which is nowhere near as good. So magic find and attack rating, brilliant find. Brought on a grand charm. And here you can see I'm kind of fighting through to get to the chest. And only about now does it dawn on me that I can't see the chest. And that's worth a drink. It's weird just because the layout, I would expect at that point for it to be there, but short distance further along, we find ourselves in the VIP lounge of Cold Worm. Luckily these guys don't seem to have any kind of great poison resistance, but interestingly Cold Worm does. Now he's notorious for when it explodes, producing a poison that can very quickly bring you down to 1 health. But actually can't get poisoned himself, so what I'm doing here is fruitless exercise in mana wasting. Grab the staff, grab the cash, any drinks lying around the VIP lounge, and we're out. Gut bang. Again, like another area which is like preventing me from just running to the next zone. Gut bang and his cronies. And another enemy with a visual shield and actually seems to have a chance to block. I was surprised at how much damage I took there. Went back to check if it was players 1. Yeah, players 1. And only very briefly you saw Poison Dagger was able to actually kill the fire tower. Proof that there is someone inside there having to fire the fireballs manually.
This place is as dark as a tomb.
The snakes were, well, potentially quite worrying. They can very easily stun lock. They can be like oddly aggressive at times. But thankfully they're like glass cannons, so they go down very easily. Now the real question is, would anyone head down to the Claw Viper Temple, level 2, with this many potions? And the answer is, no one's sane. So in I go. I don't even think I've made a town portal at this point. That is hubris, friends. Take the cow's northerly route. A lot of snakes here, but actually they're not too bad as long as we don't come up against Fangskin. And he's blocking the way up. Him alone. So you can see here when you start retreating how aggressive they can be. I think they do a bash attack. Fangskin certainly can do some real damage. But they just do not have any resistance against poison, so I can clear this whole area out with relative comfort.
I was beginning to enjoy the darkness.
And the most emo line there. And these guys know me, I've come here in the past a few times. Membership not yet expired. And here's your tutorial. I always think, oh, this is so easy, I can show how comfortable it is for me getting to the next level, but every time I record I seem to mess it up. So we're zipping through, very comfortable. Bish bash bosh. Level 3, no more hoping fire arrows in there. Okay, it's better for him to be there, because I know fundamentally, factually, he's unable to get through these doors, so I can comfortably kite him, and he gets through the door. So I close the door, and he goes back through the door and dies. I mean, it's a beautiful modern poem there. And luckily now we have a relatively clear run. We can ignore a lot of these, and we know there's going to be no one in the portal room.
This is fantastic.
And we've come to one of my favourite places, the Arcane Sanctuary. Aesthetically, not practically. Sanders here, really good find, so 40% faster run walk and some dexterity as well, which is great for block chance and attack rating. So the first pub we try and get into in the Arcane Sanctuary, not letting us in. And these London clubs are really hard to get into, so we kill everyone, as a normal person would. And what's interesting, the Lightning Spire are very first immune to poison. So we help ourselves to a drink, destroy all evidence, and let's try the next bar. Again, it's really full. They're not letting us in. So like any jilted Englishman, we're going to fight everyone outside the pub. And there's no point running, love. There's no point. So fingers crossed for the next area. So we get the teleport pads in the next one, which I can actually use to my benefit. We can do some quick stabs, teleport back, quick stabs, teleport back. I don't really need to do that, but it's quite good fun, the idea of using that tactic. Can you believe the luck? All these bars are massively overpriced and just overpopulated. I mean, this is why no one comes out and drinks here anymore. I'm trying to leave and they won't let me. Get very close to death as well. But I've never died on normal, so no worries there. So 4 out of 4, we finally, the luck of the gods there. Punishment maybe for the trouble we caused in the other bars in the area. Unfortunately, it's quite busy on the way. The ghosts are frustrating because they do sap the mana. And I don't have a huge amount. Poison Dagger is costing a lot at this point. So I've probably only got 7, maybe 6 casts at most. And often during that I'm having to cast bone armor at some point. Luckily an underpopulated platform here for the DJ. Again, I've got just reminded of well, future videos with this character and how difficult this particular area was, but all that to look forward to. So I'm highlighting here how much I like the artwork in the original. I think the new one looks okay, but there's something about that like deep coloured aesthetic. I think that looks so good, and it doesn't look as good there. I'm trying to justify the remaster here because these temples look a lot better. Yeah, they've done a really good job, like upping the detail. And then the dilemma of which way to go. And again, try not to tell me, oh dude, it's just every time you just go the other way. I don't always want to know stuff like that. Although saying that when it gets to hell, I always want to know the right way to go. I think the jail is the only one I genuinely always hate having to run to. It's quite arduous. And it's time to thrust my weighty spear into this tight orifice. And at this point, checking it's definitely players 1. It's less the damage that I'm going to be able to do that I'm worried about, more the damage Duriel's going to deal, because my hit points are still like very, very low relatively, like 155, even with the bone shield I've got in place. It's not going to take him long to snap me like a twiggler. Just checking some of the bits. And interesting there, I've got quite a decent damage to undead and attack rating. That's probably better than my poison one. I know Duriel's not undead before I get a comment. And I'm taking some massive hits straight off the bat. So at this point, high cause for concern. Deep regret as to why I didn't put more points into bone armor.
Welcome to my shop.
Just habitually buying thawing potions. Now the aura that Duriel has, Holy Freeze, can't be prevented with the thawing potions, but or cannot be frozen, should I say. But having thawing potions just reduce the damage you take from each of the ticks. And here we go, in a pitched battle, seems to be doing a lot better. I'm having here to kind of look at the bone armor to see if it's active or not. So ideally I want to get him at an angle where I can see whether my bone armor is still active or not, and have access to the portal behind me. Although he does have a habit to like bash and push you. So speeding this up, it wouldn't be a Duriel fight without seeing some balls going up and down. And at this point I know it's just a matter of time. Although there are very frequent trips. Putting magic fine boots on, because I know Duriel's always got such good drops. That's sarcasm, by the way. And as you can see in Hell Ring, oh my god. And just grabbing all the stuff really just for the cash. Yeah, selling all of this. The cash is going to be so important on this because the wands are really expensive. Although I'm normally so good with numbers that there's no way I'd ever sell all my stuff and not be able to afford what I wanted to buy. Impossible. So here the Dark Wanderer, I like to bully him outside of town. Gives me a bit of an idea of, well, with these guys, Act 4 kind of creatures, although very poor ones, how am I going to fare? Seems pretty comfortable. And the very first hero you come up against normally drops a jade figurine.
A worthless statue.
Which is a worthless statue according to the Necromancer. But he's going to give us a very, very big boost to health. I think that's what, 12%? 13? And that's unfortunately probably the biggest fundamental challenge of this run, is being a melee mage in essence. So that's 2 levels of vitality in 1 quest reward. Spiders here aren't putting up much of a fight. It's odd the AI of spiders especially in Act 1, they can be extremely passive and suddenly very aggressive in a pack. Fortunately, at the beginning of this bit, I was able to clear maybe 10 of them out without too much drama before the few of them decided to aggro. But their poison resistance is extremely poor considering they're spiders. Quick stab on the way out, and then peg it. And at this point, the debate of whether I push Poison Dagger, really just try and get that average chance to hit to stay at 95%. Typical fun, Act 3 being my least favourite, and yours too, and if it's not, you need to really look at yourself in the mirror. In terms of the damage from the fetishes, it's quite manageable, I'll be honest. They do physical damage, so the bone armour is able to mitigate most of it. Unfortunately, they're all mana drains, because there's so many of them. I have to hit each one with Poison Dagger, so it becomes very mana intensive. Much better is fighting things like these Bramble Hulks. They go down very quickly and provide decent experience. At this point, a bridge too far, I'm having to withdraw. So a lot of the fights I have, and again it's just the nature of fighting with this character, I have to run forwards, aggravate the group, pull back, hopefully aggro a few of them, and then run back in. Go down to 13 hit points there. My fire resistance at this point is 0. Really, really amazing find here. This is an end game item, can you believe it for me? So, Angelic Ring is really, really important. It doesn't look very impressive at this point, but when you get the synergy of 2 items, you get a massive attack rating based on character level, which for this build is going to be really important. The other item I'm now looking for is the Angelic Wings Amulet. When you get them together, you get a 75 life from the amulet as well, because otherwise the stats are extremely poor. It does take 2 very, very important slots up. Talking about resistances, especially as we get almost burnt to death again by an Inferno, we really need to be stacking resists as much as possible if we're going to spend our time in melee range. Angling myself in the doorway momentarily there with a Gidmin due to arrive. But maybe unnecessary caution. So what's interesting here is the poison damage of the heads seems to be improving, maybe, with rarity. And that adds direct poison to our attack. See how big that gets. I'm guessing not particularly. But always nice to be able to go toe to toe with these guys. But they're dishing out massive damage. Again, this is normal players 1. We're only in like mid-act 3. And it's amazing how much damage some of these guys can output. He's only extra fast, so it's annoying that he can catch up, especially when he gets his frenzy charge. Use a portal trick there, so get the waypoint in Karast. Take my own town portal back to the entrance of the Flare dungeon. And now we get the joy of creating little bombs. So every time I hit one of these undead Stygian dolls, they become a ticking time bomb. I know the poison will kill them eventually. I've just got to hope they don't explode next to me. Thankfully the AI doesn't allow that to happen very often. They do tend to get hit and then run away. And then Dugu, who almost goes down without being recorded. But his lower half is there to prove that he was killed. And I've already got the brain from the chest. So we go back and store that in a box, as you would do with the brain. And here is a really interesting item, so Clegglaw's Pincers. I say really interesting. Actually, for this character, slows target and knockback could be really good, because we're doing so much one hit and running. The other great item here is Harazu's Iron Stay. Fortunately, still no fire resistance, which is the best resistance to have by a long way, and a 2-socket Kris. And that's an upgrade from the kind of daggers and dirks I've been using, which is more like Act 1 weapons. So that 2-socket could be useful for a rune word in the future. So outside the council, running through, bashing the mages, try and get this guy and then realise he's actually up a level. I need to take steps in a different direction. But we can avoid a lot of the Night Lord attacks. And then up against the council proper. Now, our fire resistance is 0. So this is quite dangerous. A bullet hell. Thankfully we're able to pull 2 of the council members out and reassuringly within a single hit. Maybe one or two. They prove to be pretty easy fodder. Confidently march in, unconfidently run away. And Gelab here we've managed to grab. The amplified damage there, you can see how easily my health can be chunked down. Again, another curse, but really only one or two hits. I've just got to be patient, and they go down. And lastly, talk. Annoyingly, I'm getting pelted by meteors from these lads to the right, proving there is no roof to this building. And a great find there. So Milobregia's orb, very solid magic find for a shield in the early game. 20%. Puts us on like minus 380 at this point. Putting some points into vitality before we enter the sewers. Never look forward to the sewers. I'm always slightly resentful of the way they designed the sewers. I thought it'd be much better if they just had a very static, like long layout that runs from one area to the other. Like from upper Karast to lower Karast. But instead you've got just kind of one huge map. And I always get lost. And here you can finally get stuck between two groups of skeletons all being resurrected pretty frequently by the Unraveler there on the left. So panicking, trying to get my bone shield to remain up. I know these guys are just doing physical damage, and when I finally get a break, I can hit that Haradrim Ancient. Grabbing the locked chest with absolutely nothing in. And then a welcome sight, can you believe it? The Gloom Bats. Damage there is very, very high, considering. But again, Gloom Bats can be very aggressive, but I've learned if you just walk away, like I should be doing now. Again, trying to quickly grab that shrine, but missing it, and thinking better of it. But of course, I've never died on normal. So I didn't actually die there, in fairness, but maybe I cut it a bit close. Hoping there's going to be no one in there, and of course, it's busy. And there you can see an example of one of the undead Stignian dolls chasing after me in bomb format, because if that explodes next to you, it could one-shot. Maybe not on normal difficulty, but with only 200 health, and if my shield's down, for instance, then yeah, not worth the risk. Pro tip, always in the Karast Bazaar, one of the two temples will be the Ruined Temple. And inside, much like the Countess, we've got some ladies. Now they are a lot more tethered to Sabina, is it? So holding at the door is a really good shout. Even though I am consistently taking hits, it's much better than getting ganked by the whole group. And thankfully the poison resistance is particularly low. Although with 3-4 of them hitting at the same time, you can see my health is getting absolutely chunked down. And I'm not hitting all the time because of their block chance this from the shields. Got 4 misses, 5 misses in a row, 6 in a row, 7. I think some of that was related to me not having enough mana with the Poison Dagger. Grab the book quickly, choke something out before the lads turn out, the boyfriends turn up. But actually super satisfying killing these gargantuan types, because the poison resist seems extremely low. Unfortunately, just due to the nature of life and saving and exiting, I have to do the council again, but no great drama from them. Get up there. Normally it's the last one to die. Blow up. I'm using the brain, eye, heart, and penis. We finally gain access to the inner sanctum, the durance of hate. Immediately, these northern girls start having a go. And they hit like a truck with their handbags, so classic hit and run. Again, thankfully, we can kill them eventually. And the possessed one there, surviving more than one hit. I think possessed have 4 times the hit points of a normal. And it's weird, like, is everything okay? Sticking a doll. Clearly not having the best night. And here, although the map itself wasn't great, my god, look at that excitement. That is some mouse jittering. That is a brilliant map. Now I run back out and have a debate of what players I want to run this on. And I settle on players 3. I want this super drop that you get from killing the end of act boss. So that's a one-time improvement in all magic find the first time you kill an end of act boss. And I want to maximise that, and 3 to me seems like a good compromise. One of the things I learned recently about upping the player count is it's far better to have actual people in your game and within close proximity. That's the best way to get maximum experience and maximum kind of additional magic find. So even if you're up to players 8, I think it only really counts as a realistic players 3 or 4 if they were next to you in the game, which is why you'll always see when you're rushed around Baal how the drops are always really good and always extremely difficult and competitive to try and madly click and grab. So here we find almost the worst case scenario, like a hero at this point, fire dedicated attacks, and even just hitting the side of those meteors doing a huge amount of damage. Fire resistance currently 0, so we're taking full damage from this. And they're probably doing maybe 30 to 50 damage per fireball, and those meteors could even be doing more, so we've got to be really careful about hanging around too much. Thankfully the damage output is very significant, so we're fine. And we're hoping here it's going to be an isolated Mapha. It is not. What these fire throwers. And even if you hide around the corner here, they can still choose to meteor you, so you really got to keep your distance and keep Mapha one of the most excitable. I think would be the most PC term to use. Boss you'll come up against. They're generally very fast anyway, and he is always extra fast. Yeah, taking some pretty decent damage from that fire. Thankfully he's not so keen on casting his Hydras, he says he just casts Hydras. Interesting to find an unravel ahead from that armor stand. As I did on my Raven one, it seems that some armor stands have got a propensity to drop certain things. This isn't a great location, of course, but you have to work your way through them. Maybe with the teleport staff would be good. But look what I found, a +3 to bone armor skill. Mega find. So on my offhand, that's going to be really useful. Just identifying some of the stuff here, hopes to get something of any value. There's a +1 to curses there, but no real use to me. And at this point, if you've got good resists, you're kind of laughing against this dude, but my resists are extremely poor. This should be a challenge. The lightning is by far the worst, and that ball is very hard hitting. But even the charge bolts can be, like, if you get hit by enough of them, a lot of lightning damage is 1 to a maximum. If you just get a really bad RNG on enough of those charge bolts hitting at the same time, and they don't hit for 1 damage, they hit for 60, 70, 80, whatever your resist might be, then yeah, he can one-shot you. My bone shield here really isn't doing much until I get into damage, so using his architecture against him. And can you believe all of my health in one go there? So that was 200 health in one hit. I'll admit, that was the first time I've ever died in normal. But if you get one shot like that, what can you do? When you play on hardcore, you just have to take a lot more caution. Like, make sure you stack resistances and get the gear. I'd rather just get through it with you guys. The plan with Mick Dagger is to take him to hell. I can tell you at this point, I've gone there. Not got to the end, but I've definitely gone there. So magic find gear on. Trying my best to avoid at this point because my resists are even lower. Managed to take a pretty bad hit there, trying to avoid the charge bolts. Got a pretty decent location here where I can whip round the corner, stab him and then run away. He's really pretty furious. I know the poison's probably run out by now, but I'm quite scared with the equipment I've got, so just swapping some stuff around. Making sure I've got my kite shield out. That Millibrigas will give me an extra 20 magic find.
Good journey,
not really worth
Mephisto. Give my regards.
Nice to get a unique item. Always feels like more unique items drop. And Blood Thief there, I mean, not great for my character. Some pretty decent armor there. I mean, some lightning resist and some faster hit recovery, and actually, from the defense perspective, very good. But I think I'll stick with stealth. Normally, I wouldn't even bother with the dagger type, but now these are balanced knives, which they generally have much better throwing damage, but some could have some really good modifiers on. This one, for instance, is ethereal, which is good, and +2 attack rating is really welcome. I can't help but identify a war sword. In original Diablo, the war sword was a rare war sword was the best weapon, or could be the best weapon.
Overburdened.
I end up wandering around, take the super chest at the top, decide to take out the other council member on the other side. And really what I want to do is grab this scepter, and well worth it because the amount of +2 skills that it has on it. I know it's going to be worth a lot of money. Here we are. What's interesting about Act 4 is the Pandemonium Fortress. I'm sure the original artwork just had it on a rock, but the remaster seems to have all these like bodies chained up. I didn't realise how grim it was, built on the black of the blood of the workers. So interesting design interpretation there for the remaster. Now immediately I hit these and I'm like, wow, they seem to be pretty tanky. I realise I'm still on Players 3. At this point, yeah, let's get to Players 1. If you're farming an area, then you can try and up the player count as appropriate. When you're just trying to get through an area, there's no point upping the difficulty that much, because you're just going to end up getting ganked. I'm testing my damage against some dudes here. So these kind of strangler creatures, pretty satisfying that we can one-shot those. And try not to aggro too many creatures in the area. But worth often, I think, just taking out some of the heroes. And within the next area, we find Israel, our old friend. Now these flesh spawners are just such a pain, man. I've just been trying to get through them in hell, and oh man. Learned a lot about their AI, and how frustrating they can be. And how when they don't have any creatures they've spawned, they tend to spawn at least 3 almost immediately. So, again, very close to death there. I am actually generally, I think, quite a good player at this game. But doing melee with mage characters, so they would be the necromancer and the sorceress. I'm very used to playing the sorceress, generally. Always play a sorceress, probably 80% of my playtime. So, playing the necromancer, and clearly not knowing as much as you guys, can be a challenge. Amrune there, level 25. Amantir will eventually make a rune word for us, but we're 1 level away, so we've got to wait for that. That would have been ideal for fighting as well. He's an absolute tank, even on normal. So I'm having to speed this up for everyone's sanity, but just a reminder, I had to do this in real time. So using amplified damage, my physical damage on this weapon is extremely poor, but if we can double it, why wouldn't we? And off he goes, and a bone shield there. So, we can't use it yet, but let's make it just for the fun of it. So, strength. Wasn't sure, really, that this could be made in daggers, but all melee weapons. The best thing about it, 25% crushing blow. Some great strength and vitality, which is always great. And some lifesteal even, but this weapon is for the crushing blow, and 25% is very decent. You can see that I'm still using that old weapon. Cleglaws has worked out to be really, really good. Sanders again. That 40% run walk we're not going to get rid of. There's the bone shield we just found. Maybe lacking in some of the jewellery, although Noga ring's very nice. But very, very poor amulet there. And then we get the real pleasure of being pelted at by spells. I actually think twice about even bothering. But a gem shrine there, so that's always worth going. At this point I still think it's worth trying to get emeralds, because I know they do poison damage, but little did I know. Almost anything else would have been better. Just proving the sprint requirement. Now the first left here, rare, looks like it could be what I hope it is, which is the Hellforge. Abyss Knights are a pain. I see Cleglaw's gloves there in use as I bash them back, which is really nice, especially against some melee creatures. Kind of knock them out of range, at least momentarily. 2-socket circlet could be useful. Ort Soul could be a potential. And it's really nice in this area when you get a lot of bigger creatures, especially with this build. I can run around, kite them around, take the hits, rather than having things like the mages or spawner creatures. And I'm pretty encouraged there by the damage. This feels like I can cheese him quite effectively. It's busy, busier than I thought when I ran in and decided to sort this out. I cleared them all through, and then we've got a Hope and Pray. Perfect Emerald. At the time I probably felt that was quite good. And a Tower Room. Yeah, great shape. I've come to expect. Here's just an interesting bit of... I mean, I've never seen this before. This long path. It's part of the map generation. I thought that was interesting. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen it before. You see the fun of having to fight these knights. And let's ignore this guy. Useless. And slowly we're going to have to work our way up to the Chaos Sanctuary. Such a cool looking area this, man, it looks so good. I do think the lava looks better in the original. This maybe looks too realistic. We're doing almost 1,000 damage, so up to 909. And there the resists really coming in. So not only are we getting decrepified occasionally by those mages, but it's the Inferno from the Venom Lords, is it? Absolutely wrecking us. So we really got to try and kite that Inferno out and then run away. All the time our mana's being drained. So this was, as you can imagine, a bit of a slog. It's always best to try and clear this area out as much as possible, because you never know what you're going to come up against with the heroes. Some unpleasant modifiers or resistances. But what I had to do really was just kite them back in smaller groups. And annoyingly, these Venom Lords seem to have pretty high, well, by their name, very high poison resistance, so it took more than one hit. Even though I'm doing 900 damage. And finally, we can take on the strength. So physical damage isn't great, but that 25% crushing blow is really going to be good. So it looks like max damage has gone down, but minimum damage has gone up, which, to be honest, is the better of the two. So Grand Vizier. These guys haven't proved to be too much of a challenge up to this point. We're hoping that one hit will probably be the death of them. And that does seem to be the case. As long as my mana stays up, one solid hit is enough. It's just the mana burn here is a real pain. So every time I want to try and hit, I really need to be drinking a potion. And I'm very, very lucky there, because he was fire enchanted. A bit silly there, staying in melee range with a Fanaticism Aura, but can't help myself to get a shot at Lord Decease. And I'm extremely surprised at how poor his poison resistance is. Maybe his overall hit points are very low, but... thankfully they seem to be tethering towards him. For whatever reason, he seems to be coming out on his own. I can see how much his health he has left. He's not got much life left. So just 3 hits required. And it's impossible being at level 19 not to want to just get to level 20. So finally we've maxed out Poison Dagger. Now we're hoping they're not going to spawn. Unfortunately they do. This guy we know is going to be a real pain. Whole pack of Venom Lords, which we know, even when they're not minions, take more than one hit. And I am just not hitting because they're running away too quickly. I believe the Infector of Souls always spawns with extra fast. And I honestly can't fight these guys for even a moment. If I stop, I will get hit by at least 2 Infernos. So I'm trying to minimise that wherever possible. And here, one comes the other side, you can see 2 Infernos, and it's death. So I get the pleasure, and that's the second time I've ever died in normal in 20 years or so that's amazing. The good thing about Poison Dagger is I could just get one of my old daggers out, and still with 20 points in it, I could do some pretty serious damage. Arduous having to go through this, of course, and it looks like probably maybe more than one hit for these minions, so maybe 3 or 4. But eventually we can overcome. Infector here seems to have taken some damage already, but that's just his Inferno. Probably took 2/3 of my life off. So I need to try and bait that Inferno attack, get a hit in, and then run away before he does it again. Thankfully there seems to be a bit of a cooldown between uses. Great, and once he's done, we should be laughing, right? Maybe not. I want to click it. Unfortunately, because of the size of the models there, I wasn't able to get my corpse. So I have to do the old, literally 36 life, quickly drink a potion. Hope there's not another one there to come from the other side. Now what I maybe should have done at this point is try and run down and hit the other seal. Now we've killed the main 3 bosses, that will kill everything. But I don't know how clear it is. So, methodical me thinks, let's do this the slow, grindy way. Get through them. I mean, still they're very clear, like the Inferno is insane. Finally, let's risk running in. And thankfully, I didn't earlier, because it was actually very busy, but with some basic kiting, I can get them away, find a path round, and hit the seal. And onto your main man, onto your box art boy. Now with the strength and the 25% crushing blow, these first few parts should be pretty easy. I should be getting down to half hit points very, very quickly, he says. Taking a lot of damage from that firewave attack. And the lightning, it's all normal, as many of you will know. Hits you wherever you are. On Nightmare in Hell, for whatever reason, if you stand right next to Diablo, he doesn't seem to be able to do any damage with his lightning attack. A few good crushing blow hits there. Shield staying up, just got to make sure I run away when that lightning comes. And he has a chance to do it more than once. I've seen him do it 3 or 4 times in a row before, which can be absolutely crippling. Yeah, he seems to love it at the moment, which is really annoying. And when you see him do that, and no fire comes out, you know he's putting a bone prison around your portal. I didn't see it, of course, at the time. And I'm very, very low on potions now, so let's quickly run back. I realise, oh damn it. So another portal. Magic fine gear on. Very risky now, because I've got 0 resistance.
Lord Diablo, I have bested you.
Pointless once again. Yeah, let's get ready for Act 5. Have a quick look at what these are. We're getting throwing knives I can't use with Poison Dagger. And let's just enjoy some of the doodads on the roof here, because I noticed there was some hay and stuff, and I wonder what they did with the remaster, or what was there originally. And they've remained very, very faithful. Trying to get up on this roof here just to see. And yeah, you can see the same kind of entrance way. And even like the wood there, wood slat there. Very, very faithful remaster. At this point I'm like, oh, let's just check the well out as well. But even like the doodads going in and out, amazing like washboards and stuff. The only thing they've added there is the lantern, which is just making the most of the new lighting. Even that piece of wood on the ground. So cool. So it's always nice to go up against these guys, because the experience from this type of enemy is always very welcome. I want to show you how weird this Skulls and Rocks, is. Just weird. It seems like a really weird sense of humour to add in to Act 5. I don't know why they did that. It's worse, I swear, on the original version, so I'll try and find another one and show you later. So when you've got a tank, man, if I had a mercenary, this would be very, very easy. This is one of the reasons I don't use a mercenary, because every run becomes a give the Act 2 mercenary a decent pike and you can get through everything pretty comfortably. Shank then goes down, and Eldritch, one of my favourite people to farm Eldritch. And you can see there I do it again just to get a few interesting items. And then one of the hardest enemies I've come up against, a brick wall. I actually switch off of Poison Dagger because of the amount it would drain my mana. And just gotta hope for the best. Come later difficulties, those can be quite the challenge. And I'm speeding this up, I think, 8 times. You can see the challenge. I thought, well, we'll say the barbarian things were here. They're just there, but man, like the mages here are just... Every time you get close, they like to run away, and then of course, trying to hit that door, which is poison immune, it's enough to drive you to drink. Teach them how to knock down a twig door. They're not even trying to help at this point. And then, yeah, they finally escape. The brave barbarians. Okay, so here we find skulls and bones. So weird. That's even that sound effect. What is this? A pantomime? So weird. Just seems really off. Now, frozen creepers, always a concern because they can be really, really tanky if you're the wrong kind of build. But mainly probably because I play a cold sorceress. But and even these snow drifters. This wailing beast is always quite satisfying, but it's almost one hit from the poison and then kite them away. And at this point I could just lead him on. Can't lead him too far because I'm worried he's going to drop something that I want to pick up. But that kind of normal Diablo anxiety. You know the best rune you've ever dropped is the one you didn't pick up. You didn't see it. So trapped here between two guys and with a bit of an audience on the other side. I thought this was cool because they look really menacing over the other side. This guy's just like looking at you, but I thought the lighting looked really cool. But let's move on. Let's not worry about them. We've got a mission from Frostenstein and his lads. Now this can be pretty dangerous. You can see even one can hit with that stun animation. And a few can just be game over before you know it. But I've cleared enough of an area here, so I've got a little bit of way I can kite them around, get the hits in, try and keep the armour up. It goes down without too much of an issue.
Are not to be trifled with.
I'm sure there's a lot of dialogue for Anya I've never bothered with. I'm always so annoyed at her quest reward. Yeah, pretty useless. And just gobble that down. Yum yum yum. Finally, 10 fire resistance. Well, for the first time we've got some fire resistance this game. Now my amulet is really starting to wind me up, so I do what anyone would do and try and gamble what little money I have, and we get nothing. And then I find this absolutely badass named Devil Poison. That's one of the best hero names I've seen, and I have to go toe to toe with Devil Poison. It wouldn't be right. One poisoner against another, and there can only be one. And a point to spend, so we've maxed that out. Really just synergies at this point. Normal, I'm still thinking survivability, okay-ish. And one thing, the reason I stop it here is that guy is a hero, and I didn't realise the heroes could actually jump into the thresh beasts, which I thought was cool. Fortunately, I didn't quite catch it, so I was so surprised at the time when it happened. And here, this corpse is really interesting. I say really interesting, for me at least. Originally, it looks like Anya, and I wonder if it was an asset that you wanted to use at one point for her storyline. You can see there they've kind of changed the colourways, so it doesn't look quite like her. But in the original version, it definitely got the same kind of yellow boots, like very bright yellow boots, and orange skirt. So I'm guessing at one point that was an old asset for what would have been the way to rescue her before she's trapped in ice, which is the way they ended up doing the quest. Always a check, just habitually, to see what kind of modifiers they've got, and I realise on normal, they don't have any modifiers. I think they've got some innate modifiers, like Spectral Hit, or maybe that's just Colic. But ideally here I'll be splitting up the group as quickly as we can. I've not put any safety potions down, because I'm an idiot. But I can see already the damage that my dog's taking is... Or my dog? Is significant. He always has the lowest health, poorest defense. He does have a decent damage output. But with him down, we know at least they're not going to be shouted, which would improve their defense quite significantly. And now it's the running game. I've tried for a moment to try and split these guys up and just found it impossible. And the main risk here is just the whirlwind attack. It does so much damage. So I need to make sure I've got my shield up. And mana is the issue. I didn't bring it anywhere close to enough mana potions. Maybe I was a bit too, well, not frugal enough at the start. Finally, talent gets punctured. Corlic, we can actually hit him in mid-air, which is pretty cool. And I couldn't tell you the last time I was actually hit by that leap attack. Seems so inaccurate. And I put him in place for his final death. So at this point, in hindsight, I should have just put more points into bone armor, but I still want to be upping that damage as much as possible. Looking here, ideally for another +3 to bone armor, and unbelievably find it. This probably only took about 3 or 4 back and forth from town to re-roll the inventory. So now +3 on the shield, +3 on the wand, so +6 overall every time we switch to our offhand gear set. And some great experience from these guys. Great farming location. Always surprised at how much experience Act 5 gives. Feels a little bit like cheating. And when I get to the throne, where is everyone? You guys open yet? We're hoping just no souls, but not sure if souls can actually spawn on normal. Usually these Stygian Furies, is it? And Moon Lords? Death Lords, sorry. By the time you get to this point. So I believe they have a cannot be frozen mod, most of those Death Lords, so for a frost-based character they can be really quite difficult. And then confidently standing like a real champ against Calenzo. Annoyingly that Decrepify. So if you are standing close to Baal, he will Decrepify you, and that doubles the amount of physical damage you take, and slows you, and decreases the damage you do, so... Brutal curse to be hit by, and one thing I'll avoid for later waves, trying to stay out of his range, casting range. Classic tactic here, with wave 2, is just to lure all these dudes out. Keeps them out of resurrection range, gets them out of the way. No drama. I know the Unravelers are likely to be immune to poison, and Akamel the Cursed, even on normal, is immune to poison, so finally we should get a bit of a challenge. That's not a barricade. So a few quick stabs on the Unravelers, got to take those out. Cursed again, because I'm just getting too close to Baal, and actually the poison is ticking down health quite significantly. So pull Akamel down, out of that curse range, and then it's toe to toe. And you can see when that crushing blow hits, he's losing 10% of his health just off the bat. So it's 10% of current hit points, so it's diminutive returns. So the first few look amazing, and by the end you're really struggling. And I don't do a huge amount of physical damage at this point with the weapons I've got equipped. And I worry at this point, this is not looking very good. Now there are options if I can't kill him down, but with enough perseverance, with amplified damage, popping potions where I can, I believe this is going to be possible with just some good RNG and a few good hits in a row. So some perseverance there, winning the day, and a very expensive drinking session. pretty confident once I see that. So fire resistance at 10 as well. I mean, come on, this is a joke. So the bullet hell is the Hydras. I have to keep retreating. Thankfully, Bartok tends to be quite aggressive, and the dudes that come with him don't seem to be tethered to him quite as aggressively as the next two waves. So you can see with Ventar, like, trying to split this group up is an absolute pain. They love hanging around him, like real groupies. So to be very, very careful about getting overwhelmed. I mean, with 10% fire resistance, what's to worry about, right? I am actually quite good at fighting these now after Act 4, so I've got the kind of range to avoid the Inferno and kiting it out. And you can see there, Cleglaws, when it hits, knocks them back, actually interrupts the Inferno, which is very welcome. So the minions. The experience these guys hold is just phenomenal, so it's always worth trying to kill them, but I can see it already here. Yeah, I can poison them, but it does almost nothing at all. So this is a kind of fruitless exercise in putting them, and at that point I hit this guy, go to look back to see what kind of damage it's doing, and realise he's already trying to heal through it. They've got an incredible regeneration rate, so it's worth just ignoring them, pull them out. Baal's satisfied as long as you can't see them. And then we go up against the man himself, the troublemaker. So I'm really looking for those crushing blow hits to begin with. And we're not getting great luck at this point. Lots of misses. Someone on one of my previous videos mentioned the fact that Baal's actually got quite a high block chance. That's why I'm missing maybe more frequently than you'd expect. But yeah, speeding this up now. As you can see, really is just an endurance session. With Crushing Blow, especially normal, I know eventually we're going to win. Now if we get some bad RNG in a row, we could end up becoming unstuck. But with the safety portal there, and with enough potions in the belt, we should be fine. Some bad RNG, a few bad attacks in a row, you can be in some real trouble. But with the safety portal there, and again on normal difficulty, we should be fine. I'm casting amplified damage every now and then, just because I know that's helping double my physical damage, and Crushing Blow with its diminutive returns isn't helping. And even though I put my Magic Find gear on, not great drops. You would hope at that point to maybe get some Nightmare items, because Baal can drop them. Nightmare uniques, but alas. So here's what we found. Cathans, I'll keep just in case. I've got the space at this point. +1 assassin skills would be good. Not an assassin. Some poison and some dex on Nickel Sting, but really not great. And a dual resist crown, actually. Lightning and poison. Poison isn't ideal as the second resist, but when you've got 8 resist on your original helm, then definitely worth swapping it out. And lastly, the runes from rescuing those barbarian boys. So Poison Dagger maxed out, 7 into the synergy, 1 into the other synergy. So I'm surprised to see we're up to 1600 damage. So synergy at this point adding 100 damage. So it feels like we should be viable into Nightmare. Well, Nightmare's coming up, so we'll put that to the test. When I finished, I went outside. The moon looked really, really beautiful. It's like sliced in half, and it's very, very cold in the UK. Winter's coming. But look, thank you very much for watching. I really would love to hear some more from you guys as to what you want to see. Builds, difficulty level. Part of me is thinking normal's clearly very pedestrian for me. So Nightmare straight away, and the length of the videos. Look, advice, some of the tips are absolutely brilliant, so always very welcome. Look, a genuine thank you from me for all of the support so far. I'm amazed at how many people have watched my videos, and the positive comments are a real motivator. So keep the constructive criticism and positivity coming. Tell me what you want to see, what you don't want to see. Hopefully in the next few days I'll show you Mick Dagger's Nightmare journey into Nightmare. So look forward to seeing the next one.